Erik McCoy returning to the Saints lineup this week against Cleveland will have a big impact in that game, could have a big impact over the next 7 games. And those 7 games could lead to a bigger impact 2, 3, possibly 4 seasons down the line. Let's talk about it. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. So it's on the screen. I waited to do this video until it was official. But earlier in his press conference, Darren Rizzi had confirmed, yeah, it looks like barring some crazy setback between now and kickoff, Erik McCoy is coming back and will be starting at center against the Browns. And while I have this up, it is also awesome to see that it looks like McKinstry's going to be back in addition to McCoy. Howden looks like he's okay from the shoulder injury. Of course, Cedric Wilson coming if he can come back. Help out the receiving core a little bit. So these are all pretty good signs. And good chance we're going to see Nephi Sewell on the field also. And that ties into the one bit of bad news. Pete Warner, if he can go, he's going to go. But it sounds like he had a big, giant club on that hand today in practice while he was doing limited work. So not quite sure how that's going to pan out. Obviously, Lucas Patrick, Jamal Williams are out. But the news here really is McCoy. And I wanted to talk about this on the live stream Thursday. And 100% disclosure, the reason why I didn't, frankly, is because I was scared to jinx it. All indications were, especially when they cut McGovern, he was close and he was coming back. And I was like, literally, I was scared if I talked about it on Thursday, something bad was going to happen. And I'm even a little concerned talking about it now, but I'm feeling better. That you got all but confirmation from Darren Rizzi. And the thing is, removing from the impact it had on the overall team and the win-loss record and everything, what I really want to focus on is the impact it had on this offensive line. Because that was the veteran anchor. Now, we mentioned that Rizzi talked about the other day that you not only lost one of the best centers in the league, if not the best, but definition that pretty much makes him one of the best offensive linemen in the league. And it's just incredibly hard to replace starters. It can be done, but a lot of times you're scaling stuff back or you're making adjustments you really don't want to make. And what makes it worse in this case is we're implementing this new zone scheme where, for those of you who've been around for a while, you know this, and for those that just joined, I'll let you in on a secret. I didn't know jack nothing about the zone scheme. I had a basic concept understanding of what it was, and it spent a lot of time in February, March, and April trying to track it down, figure it out, watching a lot of videos, reading a lot of stuff. But really, one thing that kept going around is when you're setting the scheme up in the rules for the because every position has rules on the offense, the rules for the lineman, it all kind of starts with identified, some will call it the Mike or Mike player or the zero guy, the zero player, whatever, but some indication of basically what that is. That's the center's guy. So pre-snap, he's going to make his call. That's going to let everybody know that guy over there is my block, the zero guy. And then everybody's rules accordingly are going to follow depending on what the defense reacts. And if something changes, they move or make an adjustment or do anything right before the snap, during the snap, or after the snap, a lot of times that has to change where the center has to, all of a sudden, the Mike ain't the same guy anymore. So the guy he's got to block changes and everybody has to accordingly make their adjustments to that. First year of introducing this was probably made easier by a veteran like McCoy, who's one of the best at what he does, not only as a center, but an offensive lineman in general. So run blocker and a pass blocker. Well, you lost a lot when you lost him. So not only as the center, though, but as Rizzi mentioned the other day, he said he made a comment. It was like basically offensive lines tend to travel in packs. And he said, Erik was our Pied Piper. He was the guy that, and Rizzi said, like, well, he's not really a vocal as in rah-rah leader. He said he's more of the guy that everybody can come to, or he can go to them. Something that Taliese Fuaga did talk about during training camp, that how much McCoy was helping him, even in between reps, while on the practice field, getting in his ear and saying, giving him advice, giving him adjustment, telling him what's going on. And Fuaga had even mentioned, and he's got no problem if I go to him with questions and that he can help me with. It, it it's kind of like having that, the proverbial coach in the field, coach in the huddle, coach in the locker room. And if you're going to have a good offensive line, whether it's the center or some other vet, that it seems to be, you need a Pied Piper. You need one of those guys, because it is such it's synergy and cohesion with those guys, and especially like we're talking about in the scheme. One guy misses the call, or you have a miscommunication, or they don't realize the adjustment. That's how you wind up. Instead of getting that defensive line moving side to side and finding the space for Alvin to run through, now you just created a hole where that defensive lineman ain't going side to side. He's going in to rip Alvin's head off. And we have seen that, but and sometimes it's a very small thing. And starting center, but definitely the veteran leading starting center, I would love to say the best center in the league. I don't know if I can, but I know he's in the conversation. That had an effect, obviously, and we know it did all through the line. But this is the thing. This is the outside of what it caused in the offense, part of our huge injury problems, and contributed to play on the field and results and everything else. What I was excited about, basically in OTAs and with Benning as our offensive line coach, and Kubiak and Rick Dennison and all these guys, John Benton, rather, all these guys, they pretty much were in agreement and very excited from the jump that this offensive line was going to be Fuaga, Saldiveri, McCoy, Ruiz, Penny. That was the plan from the jump. Before the McCoy injury derailed a lot of this, we forget Saldiveri went through a serious injury issue, and we just recently got him back. To what they started working in OTAs and was trying to work in training camp never fully materialized. And even with Lucas Patrick filling in at left guard, you had 4/5 of the line you were envisioning. Then you had 3/5. Then you lost McCoy for a little while. Rookie on the left side. This all took its toll in one way, shape, or form. But to me, the biggest reason why this took a toll on this offensive line, think about if this actually works. If we've got 7 games to prove this lineup would work across the board. Rookie, Fuaga. Second-year guy, Saldiveri. The oldest member, these 5 starting linemen, is McCoy in his 6th year. He's right in the prime of everything. Ruiz is in his 5th, Penning in his 3rd. That is insanely young if you can get this together. And we have witnessed on the right side especially, felt like Ruiz made a big jump last year, because it was first couple of years for him was a real struggle in the adjustment moving from college center to NFL right guard. And our coaching staff at the time didn't seem to really want to help him do it. Same thing for Penning, making that huge jump and possibly out of position trying to make him a left tackle, because the right tackle, I don't know if you've heard this, but last week against Atlanta, he was out. PFF had the highest grade on the team on him, 90-something%. I've been optimistic about what they could hopefully do with Trevor Penning from the get-go, but I never would have bet a penny on that he would eventually have a game where he could grade that high on PFF. Now, I'm not saying that's permanent, but I am excited that he was at least able to do it once. Can we replicate it? And when you're looking at that young offensive line, like I said, starting Fuaga on the left side, who is a rookie, is making an adjustment, and he's hanging in there. You just got Saldiveri back. Hopefully, he is what you thought. You give these guys 7 games to see what they can do. Because here's the deal: if the vision from Benton and Dennison and Kubiak et al., going all the way back to last May, if that vision actually comes to fruition and hits, and you figure out you've got 7 games to see how close you are to that reality, you want to talk about the rebuild we have to start in 2025, maybe making it easier, maybe making it more palatable, maybe even as we're going to have some turnover in some spots that's going to make a season or two kind of rough. You roll out a veteran 5 like that across the board that you can hold together for the next 3 or 4 years, which you basically your oldest guy during that time, well, that time would be about his 10th year in the league. So barring any injuries or anything like that, um, when you get on the other side of the rebuild, you should be in great shape because you could have these guys just like those offensive lines like we had in the past, locked down for several years, just going, that's one thing we don't have to worry about. All we have to worry about is some backups behind them for depth. More importantly, like I said, if you've got to go through that in 2-3 year type rebuild, and actually you might be able to back off the quote unquote rebuild a little bit and make it more back to the reset they were trying to do this year. If you have, and it doesn't even have to be the best line in the NFL, but if you get to one of the best, go from what everybody's thinking is in the bottom third of offensive lines into the top third with a group that you can lock down with some young guys that you can develop and get better. I'm not saying it's happening, but you've given yourself the possibility to one day have, maybe we do have the moniker of best offensive line, or at least get in the argument. But all in all, that's something you want to build your team around. And I know I'm putting a lot on the return of McCoy, but I was envisioning, along with the coaching staff, if everything would have went according to Hoyle, including keeping Saldiveri healthy and ready to go throughout training camp, seeing was this going to happen? And if it wasn't doable, at least you find out early enough so that in 2025, depending on where you draft, how the money turns out, all that other stuff that we've still yet to figure out, whether or not any of those resources or capital is going to have to be spent on the offensive line, or if you go, nope, just got to lock down the guys that we have in the position now for the next couple of years, keep them healthy. Let's see how it turns out. So, been basically more or less having this video in my back pocket the last couple of weeks. And if really, I'm still even nervous doing it now. I'm not even joking that I don't want to jinx this and set this back another week. But for the longest time, or not the longest time, but for a few weeks, when we were realizing that it could be a fruition, that he was coming back, going, well, let's get back to the vision that we had, or the coaching staff had, that we were looking at, going, that if it pays off, my opinion, it if you can hit the payoff here, it's going to be a big, huge payoff for you, and potentially solves a lot of problems that you won't have to deal with for 3 or 4 years while you're solving all the other issues. I think that's insanely huge, and you've got 7 games remaining in the season to be able to go, yes, we've seen enough. That's it. Or no, unfortunately, we're going to have to try something different. And you can prepare to do that in 2025. So if you do need to use resources and capital, you find out now. So pretty much just a quick one coming in and dropping that. Probably going to see this Friday night, maybe early Saturday morning. And if I drop this too soon and I did jinx it, and all of a sudden he doesn't play, we have the post game show, of course, on Sunday night. So I will be ready for the abuse y'all will throw at me, because I will fully take responsibility if that happens. I'm trying to be positive that it won't, because, yeah, just to sum up, this is This is one of those things that affects not only the short term, but could affect your long term, and a lot of good pluses and ramifications of it working out. If the 7 game, like if Rizzy's having a 7 game tryout, 7 game tryout to go, hey, the offensive line we thought we had, is it going to be what we thought it was going to be? So that's all I got for you. Just a real quick one. Like I said, Sunday night will be the post game. I'll have the time and everything up tomorrow, but probably be pretty much the same time. Um, if you're new here, of course, like, share, subscribe, give me a thumbs up. Definitely hit the notification. So when I have the unannounced ones like this was, I can pop it in there. You'll know it's in there, and you'll get a chance to go watch it. And I will start putting the link to the online store on the descriptions and the videos. If you get a chance and help support the channel a little bit, go check out what we have. Something you like, I would appreciate any support you can give. So till we see you Sunday night, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.